Reggae Interviews. Word Sound Power.
This is DJ 745 Reggae Interviews at 56 Hope Road, the Bob Marley Museum. We're celebrating with an artist here who is celebrating 40 years in music. Her music itself builds on solid foundations that were set during her childhood here, and the importance of this is that she's still very, very current and active in 2020. Nadine, welcome.
Thank you so very much. It's an honor to be here. I've been seeing some of your interviews, so to be sitting with you and being interviewed is quite an honor. Can't wait. Exactly.
Well, I think the honor is equally shared, because we really like to try to actually document our history, our music, because the younger generations need to learn where things started out from. So that's the main purpose for doing these interviews that we've been doing over the last few years. I kind of feel like we've got so much to talk about, but really we want to gain a deeper insight into who Nadine is.
Who Nadine is, let's go who Nadine is as an artist. When I was 11, I was advised to enter Tastee Talent Contest, which was the #1 contest at that time in Jamaica. So I entered and I won the grand finals in 1979. I've been telling this story it's because it's 2020 and it's 40 years. I've been telling this story, so it's kind of cute. So I won, and part of my prize was a recording contract with Tuff Gong. So I heard from serious source that Sangy Davis, who eventually worked with me, was wanted to go with the second place winner, and it was Diane Jobson, who said no, we're gonna go with the little kid, we're gonna go with the little girl. So I walked in here, and I remember the first time I walked in here and I walked through the gate, and it was Diane Jobson. We went and we found Diane, who met me at the gate, and she's like, oh my God, it's a little girl that wants Tastee. And the first thing she goes like, Bob. So I remember vividly walking in here and seeing Bob, and I've been telling someone that the memories of Bob now, I sit down and I deliberately go through them over in my head so that they be etched in my mind forever. So I remember him in really dark denim. And I walked up to him and she said, Bob, obviously he must have known, because it was his plan to, I think, what I heard, the reason why he was doing this was that him coming up in the music industry was very, very hard and harsh. The Jamaica music industry in the 60s was harsh. So he felt that he reached a stage in his career and he wanted to facilitate a better journey for young artists. And I benefited from that. So there I was, and I stood up, and I remember seeing him gorgeous, years after. I said to myself, I understand why the women love Bob Marley so much. He was beautiful. So he just smiled. And everybody know when Bob smiled, there was a childlike quality. And then I'm there standing and I'm looking at him. I must say I wasn't too impressed. I was a little kid. I was like an 11-year-old kid. The enormity of the situation, years after when I went to UN, I did Bob Marley, I recognized, dude, man, I really was around the king. And that was it. I met him then, and the machinery just started. It was close to Christmas, so we never really did anything at that time. But as 1980 dawned, I started rehearsing and did my first song, Starvation on the Land, which he was there also in the studio.
I mean, you were only 11 years old when you entered that Tastee Talent Competition. Now, for some of our viewers that are not familiar, the modern day equivalent is probably things like Digital Rising Stars. Over in America, you have things like the X Factor and those kind of things.
American Idol and all of that.
Yeah.
It was basically the now equivalent to what Tastee was. And it wasn't televised. Tastee was live. So, there was not a chance for second takes. Not at all.
No. So you must have had your family must have thought that you've got a very, very strong vocal or creative ability, artistic ability to enter at such a young age.
Well, yeah, I got a couple hits in my head initially, because, my grandmother thought that I whined a little bit too well as a little child. I was everything I said, I was just whining, and I was just singing and going on. And the story is that they catch me in front of one jukebox, can't find me, and they catch me in front of a jukebox dancing off my head, which I still do at this age. I love to dance, and it was just a natural dance. I had just a natural ability and was just singing. And after a while, I guess you just say, there's something something going on with this kid. So they give these cute stories that, you know, anywhere there's like, she can sing. I remember singing in basic school, but I remember when I went to a church and my mother said she can't sing. I was like 4, and I was obsessed with Michael Jackson, Ben. I don't remember. It was before Tastee. I'm not too sure. And I was like, Ben, the two of us need look no more. And when I did it, I remember the Holy Ghost came on the people in the church, although it was not a song that, you know, basically was church-like. I was such a good singer and, you know, was just so fearless. When I look back at myself, I'm trying to recapture that fearless kid. And everybody was, so they always have the story. And then, you know, when we moved to Above Rocks, you know, I was singing all over the place. And, you know, I was encouraged by somebody who, he entered and he won his semifinals, and he entered, and unfortunately I beat him in the finals. Yeah. Horace Martin, yeah. Okay. He placed 3rd.
For someone that's 11 years old, obviously still attending school, what did your school friends think of what you were doing? You know, you're probably like going home on a Friday, maybe going into the competition on the weekend, I guess, going back on a Monday. Were your school friends excited for you?
Okay, so the Tastee Talent Contest, like the quarterfinals that I won was in July, the day before. You know, in Jamaica we have something at that time, it's no PEP, it's their equivalent, but then it was common entrance. You reach a certain age and you do your exam and you go into it, you know, your grades took you to a high school. So I got into a prominent high school called St. Andrew High School for girls. Well, I love St. Andrews, but the old girls would just look at you and say, please don't say Andrews, it's St. Andrews. Very like glam school. So like by the December I was in first semester, and I remember vividly standing up in the class before I won Tastee, the grand finals, and I was like, my name is Nadine and I'm an amateur singer, and they all laugh. I mean, I mash up the place again because the girls were like, oh, who the hell? They laughed at me, but you know what? Then after, when I got famous, when I won Tastee by December, my face was all over the place. By the time I come back in January, you know, they're like, oh my God, and the whole Tuff Gong story and all of that. So I guess my life changed and had to deal with fame and had to deal with what came with fame. I never even realized, see, singing and dancing was such a seamless thing for me. I could not even think about that something was even different with my life. You know, people were treating me differently, and but for me, I was just always singing and dancing, so it was just an extension. You know, that fearless kid that was just on stage. I never even realized then, when I look back at it and really have some deep thinking, I was like, I never even realized then that it was on such a different level. I was so into my like, zone. I just like singing and dancing was so part of my being, you know. Yeah.
Now, one of the people that you beat in your finals of the Tastee Talent was a certain Paul Blake, Mr. Yellowman.
Paul Blake and Yellowman, incredible artists of their own. Paul Blake came and had Bloodfire Posse that just done the place, and Yellowman is dancehall legend. You know, a lot of stuff that, you know, people don't really know the history of dancehall, and a lot of what the younger dancehall artists are benefiting from is from the headway of Yellowman. I think he was signed and he was touring from before tours were even part of the landscape of Jamaica. So big up Yellowman. I'm not, you know, I am proud, but I don't really bask in it or think it's something. I don't feel superior, you know, that happened. Actually, I'm honored to be, you know, in that league of those talented, talented kind of, you know, people. Yeah.
Did you feel that you as an 11-year-old, were you able to actually process what was happening to you? Because I'm guessing that, you know, at the age of 11, I've got daughters myself that are similar kind of ages, and I look at them and I think, have they got the maturity to actually understand what is actually happening in front of them?
I did not. Looking back at it, and I don't think even my family or my parents was even thinking. You know, I think that sometimes I look at myself now and, you know, wished that somebody would have understood how daunting it was for me. I never even understood that because I didn't even have the vocabulary, the psychological vocabulary to even think about at that stage of my life how daunting it felt for me, like public and, you know, growing up and your body was changing. My body was I was a skinny girl, and then in front of everybody I grew up and I matured, and how in that transition of, you know, puberty, how daunting it was that everybody was watching me and everybody was, you know, so even now I think that fame when I was younger, kind of just still impact me in how I move and have my being. And in some sense it's good because, you know, you kind of just like realize that the whole of Jamaica look for you, you know, you still kind of have, you know, some of those, I think, some of those that happened in my childhood. Having big people hating on you was another thing that I couldn't even process. I couldn't process that. They weren't seeing a kid. They were seeing a famous person, irrespective that you're a child. So some of the stuff that they said about, you know, I was processing it like a child. And they were thinking about it like, you know, I'm a famous person, so pow, just shoot bullets at her. That's why I understand, you know, I'm not condoning pedophilia or whatsoever, but I do understand Michael Jackson on some level. I do understand all child star on a lot of level and how they could internalize stuff because you don't really have the capacity at that time to have an explanation to yourself to say, okay, an adult is doing this, and any adult who attack a child is screwed up. They're not seeing you as a child anyway. So, yes.
So, this journey from Tastee Talent brought you here to 56 Hope Road 40 years ago, and what a landmark that is. 40 years on, and we're here talking about how you started out. Now, do you remember that very first time you drove through that gate here at Hope Road?
I have never forgotten it. It was with my daddy, and as I said before, everything. It was Diane who met me, Diane Johnson. I love her so much. Big her up. Introduced me to Bob. I was, you know, walked around this place, you know, I was telling Ryan, who worked with me on many levels, I was telling him that right there, family man lived. And, you know, like when I come here all the time, I didn't come here for many years. Okay. Many years I wasn't here. You get caught up in life. And I came here as a student. When I did my master's, I came here as a cultural studies student, and part of it was to tour the Bob Marley Museum, and I was like touring it, and I started to cry, and I was just like trying to tell kids that was half my age. I was like, Mommy, I was in school the first semester, and I was telling them that this was my life and my childhood and everything. So I always hold the memory dear to me, you know. I'm just like thinking, yeah, a lot of my childhood running up and down here with Ziggy and Sidella and Sharon and Stephen and Rowan. You know, it's just like spending time here. Yeah.
Now, you were the first artist that was signed to the Tuff Gong recording label. And your debut single that you mentioned, Starvation on the Land. What do you remember about that recording session? Because, I mean, first of all, when you actually analyse the lyrics in that song, it shows a very deep sense of maturity. Was that a song that you wrote yourself, or was it written for you?
That song was written for me and almost got an 11-year-old kid in trouble, okay, people? It was written by Sangi, a Rastafari. Bob assigned him the task of my project, you know, Nadine Sutherland project. And I remember, like, coming here, the back now, coming here in a room with Sangi, playing the guitar, learning the song. He wrote the lyrics, and, you know, it's Rastaman and all of that. Unfortunately, it was released in 1980 in the cups of when Jamaica was, I call it the Civil War, when JLP and PMP was fighting. I didn't even know what I was singing. And then I heard after that some people actually took umbrage of the lyrical content because they felt that it was a critique against the current government. Okay. So an 11-year-old kid would know that, right? I was just singing that song, and I remember the first recording that I've ever done. I was in my uniform, which, you know, after that, you know, I was told not to wear your school uniform. But we just never knew. We were just starting the music industry. Me and my father and my parents, everybody just excited. Everybody just like totally awed by the whole situation. Here I am, starry-eyed, seeing people running up and down and everybody thing there. And then all I knew, Sangi come in, and, you know, I couldn't see over where the console is very well. But I remember sitting down and I'm standing there, and who walked in was the gong himself, Bob. Okay. Yeah, he was at my first recording, and he came and was like, put up on a chair now. And they put me on a chair, and I was like, totally. And then Sange come and instruct, and Steely and Clevey, the the people who were the beginning of dancehall, those two young men, they were in the session playing reggae music. I think Steely was playing the piano, and Steely was playing the live drums. In Starvation on the Line, it's Steely and Clevie, excuse me, who played it. And Bob came in and said, I don't remember who he spoke to, but I know he said he made some musical suggestions. And I remember, I think it was a bass or guitar, he made some suggestions. And then when I could see a little, because I wasn't even thinking that the console was over there, but I saw him walking up and down, talking and all of that. And then I realized that his presence was there. And then when I love to think that when I listen to Starvation, it kind of have a Whalers feel. Tam, ta, 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 tam. I was like, it have a Whalers feeling because so my first recording, that was it. That was my experience.
Now, a lot of people, and it's been very well documented, that as far as music is concerned, Bob was a perfectionist. Did you sort of see some of those elements of that perfectionism in what you were doing here?
Definitely. A lot of people don't understand, like even before I perform and I get into this zone, talk to me after I perform. And if I'm going to perform, I always remember one thing. Bob always said, if it's 10 people, you perform like it's 1,000,000.
True.
So when I'm on stage, I give my all. Those are the training. And I wasn't around Bob, but I was around Rita and his children. And I remember in my younger days when we are going on tour, it wasn't like 1 or 2 rehearsals. It was weeks of rehearsals, weeks of getting your clothes together, weeks of getting your act together. They approached it from the way that Bob approached it. His children had, even in the Melody Makers, they had a level of professionalism that was taught from the school of Bob Marley. And I still have it in me. Some musicians can't deal with me because I'm like, do it over and over because I'm not going to go on stage with anything that is mediocre. As my father said, I'm from the school of Bob Marley. So when I go on stage, I give my all as a performer, where I want my music, when I am performing, when I'm going into my zone, I want it to be the best. Don't come talk to me. Yes, I will talk to you after, but I have to get my headspace because I'm going out there. My voice have to be, I can't be using my voice all the time, and I have to sing and hit my notes. And my energy, I have to dance, and I have to, you see how I dance, but it is from the schooling, as my father would say. My father is a Rasta man, the teachings of being in that camp, the legacy of Bob Marley and how he approached the seriousness, how he approached his work, still is manifested in me, and how I approach everything, because that's the same kind of stuff I approached even being a student. Anything that I do, I approach it from a level of discipline and making sure that everything is done properly.
I mean, through your career, has there ever been a conflict in terms of trying to balance making music and obviously your education? Because I know, was it 2015 when you completed the Masters at UE? So, I kind of feel as though you've been sort of like educating yourself throughout your life.
You know what? The thing that I do, there never was a conflict. People make it into a conflict because I don't know why the mindset is either or. I could never understand that I could be a great artist and I can be smart. I just could never understand why is either or. Why is it that it's always the limitations that they place on women? When I was younger, if I wanted to be a ballet dancer, I could. I had that level of talent when it came on to dance. I was looking on TV in Above Rocks, a country girl, and because of our colonized mindset, every Sunday there would be something like the Royal Ballet or the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra that would be on our TV on Sunday. Or the time when I got was when Alvin Ailey came on, and I was just able to simulate any dance move possible. I just was gifted that way. So I was often say to myself, if my parents thought, was sending me to ballet school at that time, I could be a world-renowned ballet or creative dancer, dance with Alvin Ailey, be a wonderful reggae artist, be bright and smart, because I had a capacity to do all. No, the world no wants to limit you. But I've seen that boundaries are being broken and people are not allowing themselves to be compartmentalized in terms of being a student, being smart, can sing, being the best that you can in every capacity. And then I sometimes look at people like in an older generation, I'm like, oh my God, the world really limits you. You know, you hear men back in the days as like, I wanted to be an artist, but my parents thought that you couldn't right, and they looked down on being an artist and say he could have been a scientist and an artist at the same time. So those stereotypes are just being broken right now, and people stepping out and say, yeah, me can be where my mind tell me to be. I wish I knew even younger. Oh, honey, child, I want to be dealing with me right now. I could be like a surgeon. I'm a really artist too. Yeah. And a dancehall artist too. Anything we want to do.
It sounds like your parents have been very supportive throughout your career.
You know what? They have been. I think my whole family. My daddy was there from the beginning. I love to call him the Ras with the Lass. You know, a little girl was changing and I wasn't too bad looking. I was a pretty little teenage girl back in the days, and there were people spotting, and I stayed so and I watched them, the ripening of the mango, ready to pick. But there's a Rasta man with a license and say, yo, deal with my daughter, I deal with you. So my father was very protective, and my whole family, you know, in terms of normalcy. I had cousins that I grew, even though a lot of people don't understand, but I have people in my age group, in my, you know, there was a structure. There were aunties, there were uncles, there was grandmother, and even though a lot of my foundation in terms of who I am as a woman and certain choices that I've made and certain choices that I did not make, it was because that I had a relatively, not in my life, not perfect, but a relatively normal foundation and accountability. Mr. Bagranaway used to say, no shame me, make sure Lord Jesus no shame me. So do certain things. And even when I was doing dancehall there, I mean, not was, because I'm a dancehall artist, I'm a reggae artist and a dancehall artist. There are certain things that I did not feel comfortable with. You know, the church that you're going to miss Daisy, where grow you, where you and she go New Testament Church of God, she's still in your ears. Remember, say, your family, and all those stuff. So there was foundation and there was grounding and everything. So you did certain things because of the foundation of my family and certain voices that were in my head. And I want to say that I do not judge anyone. Everybody should respond to where they are in life. So me saying this is not a judgment of any woman or whatsoever. I just never felt comfortable in doing certain things. So I just want that to be clear, because I judge no one, and I don't think so my way is a perfect way. My way was perfect for me. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, after Starvation on the Land, there was other singles, A Young One Like Me, Work and Pray.
Until.
Yes, and then your debut album was released in 1985 as well. So that's a long time ago as well. All of that work, that was done here at Tuff Gong?
Yes, all this work was done at Tuff Gong. Yeah, all of this work. You see, when Bob passed on, he had all these plans. Even how late my album was released until was because of Bob transitioned, and after he transitioned, the whole thing with this place being changed, and Mrs. Marley, you know, at the helm and ensuring that this album was made. You know, so it's a lot of history. I was telling Ryan, when Bob transitioned and I used to come here. When I used to come here, I hated after a while coming here, because I felt the walls of this place was crying. I felt the sorrow. The sorrow was in the walls. That's just like this life force was taken away, and the joy and the life was just like taken away from this place. And I felt it as an 11-year-old, although, I mean, not an 11, like 12, 13, although I couldn't process it. You know, you could feel it. You feel it. It felt so bad that I didn't, it was just like when I came here, this overwhelming sadness that came over me, because everybody was just like overwhelmed with sadness because the life force. When, you know, I was talking to somebody also, and I saw this thing that chronicled Bob when he got shot, and, you know, when he went away, and, you know, was saying that how many people from the opposing gangs were here, and I never even knew. I was living it. My father would be like, you know, say the man there one PNP, you know, say, and no, we say shatter, I saw him shatter. And then as a little kid, you know, so I can say that's how this place buzzed. Journalists were here, people were here to see Bob. When Bob was there, the whole energy shifted in this place. You know, I remember seeing people, lines throngs of people lining up Hope Road to this gate, coming get to people for come for them things a weekend from Bob. I've seen a lot of stuff, and like when I see stuff about Bob, I can say, yeah, I actually can put the pieces together as a child with the truth of who that man was. Yeah. And I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing, because I remember one man called Lip, driving a BMW, and I heard that Bob gave the two warring factions, PMP and GLP, Don heads them, give them each a BMW. And I just saw a lot of things as a child, which I can't put the pieces now, especially as a cultural studies student. So it's true.
Yeah. I guess that, over time you can almost sort of like understand why something happened back then, which you maybe didn't understand then, but then over time you sort of like put the piece of the jigsaw together. Yeah. And you recently performed at the 75th Earth Strong celebrations for Bob Marley at this spot here, and what a wonderful performance you put in, not only with some of the classics but the dancehall hits as well. And you still sound so current. And how do you maintain your voice in such fine shape?
I don't really abuse myself. I have my 2 glasses of wine. Can't do it on my red wine. But I'm not really, I don't really like anything. I'm not good smoking and all that. Even like I grew up around Cali weed, I'll smell it and it's fine, but I don't really smoke. I'm a nerd. I go home early. I do go out, especially now. I'm forced to go out, but I'm not really a person who is a party animal or a person who like anything in excess. And I think, and I'm always cognizant of my voice. Okay. I'm always aware. I feel that I'm given a gift, and I've seen people that the gift was not taken away, because God don't take away your gift. You exploit your gift and abuse your gift, and I find it very precious for me to have my gift and to sustain my gift, because I want to sing and dance forever. Right. So I work out a lot. I have good cardio. I was a cardio dance, and because of the dancing over the years, I've remained in I want to lose 10 pounds right now, Christmas weight. But in terms of everything, I don't drink anything cool. I don't mucus, dairy products. I call myself flexitarian. There are some days it's just vegetarian food, although a good curry goat sometimes I cannot resist. And it's but I try to eat well and be extremely thankful so I don't abuse my voice and my instrument or my body. True. Because I'm thankful that the gifts that God has given me, and I think that in my thankfulness I have kept them relatively long. So when I perform, sometimes I surprise myself with my stamina and all that, but I was like, you've been doing this for so long, running and exercising and not abusing yourself, so still keep it,
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, let's do this. Let's take a little drive from 56 Hope Road. Let's go over to Slipe Road now, 56 Slipe Road.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
Let's talk about Gussie Clarke. Music works.
56 is 256. Well, with Gussie, a lot of people don't know this as my background, but Peter Tosh started me as a background vocalist. Nuclear War, It was my first time, the Grammy-winning album. Peter Tosh, everybody love to talk about Peter, said Peter rough, but Peter to me is one of the most gentlest, because that's how he was. Oh God, this is so romantic. It's not really romantic, but he went to my father and asked my father permission for me to sing. Isn't that the sweetest thing? Wow. He went to Daddy. He's like, I really want Nadine to sing with me on this album. I swear to God. So my father went, and I was going to studio trembling in my sixth form uniform, still a high school girl, and there was Peter, and he was so incredible to me, my first background vocals. Then I went to school as usual. I was a student. And then I went up, I don't know how I got to Gussie. And I started doing background vocals. It was me, Pamal, and JC. So I started with 56 Slipe Road. Sometime when I hear some of the songs, especially this one, Big All Around, Ragamuffin, Raga, with Gregory and Dennis, and I hear my voice going, you run things here. Listen up, people, you hear me? And you run things everybody. It's me, okay?
I didn't know that. Yeah. That's one of my favorite tunes that those two did. Wow.
It's me on the top harmony. A lot of Summer Shabba, Dennis and Gregory. I was in, if you listen and you look at the credits, but a lot of people don't know.
Okay.
So I started my background vocals with Peter, continued after school, and was doing a lot of background, and then I just started recording solo with Gussie, but it took a while for me to get adjusted, although I was dancing to dancehall, because I was a young girl at that time, and you and your friend kick up puss and your bottom in the ear and you Ray, can't make your father see you still, but you're like, okay, all of the Rasta man them, yeah, me grow Rasta, but whoa, you with the girls, the music was changing and you were changing it. So somebody asked me, I transition from reggae to dance. I was like, what's the music of my time? I was in that transition, So you dancing and everything, and it took me a while. And with Gussie, I decided that I was going to go to England, because I was like, people were being signed, and I was like, I want to be signed. So I took it myself, took my own money. I met some, I think, who was it? Was it, they came from Maxi Pri, some Virgin executives. And I heard that they were going to audition for Soul to Soul, because Karen Reed, I took my damn money, took myself off to England. I was like, I'm going to be a big sign star, and I had dreams in my eyes and everything. Went up to England, and I'm like, I'm going to make this work for myself. They were auditioning for Karen Wheeler left Soul to Soul, and I went for my audition, and I got the part. Wow, I got the part. I was going to be the next Karen, but Don Taylor and Erskine Thompson, yeah, I'm sure you've heard about those two legends. They hated each other. Heat is an understatement. They hot. It was just like two of them gone home to the creator, and it just never worked out. And I started doing some R&B demos at the point, and I don't know, dancehall, Shabba Ranks, which I also worked on Shabba's album. I don't know which song as a background vocalist, because I was still doing background vocal. And then I did action where I started doing ooh. I remember I came home and went to Jermaine, the 56 same, because Jermaine and Gussie was in the same place, right? And I did ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah. And I remember when, oh God, there's an incredible story that I have to tell people behind that. When they morphed it together with Buju to get Wicked Dickie, I had no clue. Cause if you listen, you hear Wicked and Wild, which was Nadine Sutherland, you hear Dickie, which was Buju Banton. So still in London during demos, walk into the Jamaican recording store. They said soul vinyl then. And somebody said to me, congratulations on your #1 song with Buju Banton. And I was like, that time, yeah, exactly. I was like, I have no song with Buju. The man said, yeah, you have a song with Buju Banton. The man in his head must say, I want to, it must be like, I want to share. So and I'm like, I have no song with Buju Banton. At that time, I stush, the perfect English, because, like, I have no song with Buju Banton. And genuinely, I really thought, him say your song are #1. I'm like, I have no song with Buju. The man must because some Jamaican bad one. Him say, I got play your song right. Yes or no? The man played my song. Played our song, I should say. I sat there, I heard ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah, ooh ah. Ooh, ooh. Then I heard a beautiful banton going, Dickie. Ooh. And I'm like, oh my God. Then I hear, oh, by the Dickie, girl, and I'm going bad. Oh, by the Dickie. I'm like, I'm going to kill Jermaine.
Because I remember that song so clearly, because I think Wicked and Wild first came out with things like The Berries and things, and then there was this big buzz about this song by Buju, which back then, this is like what, probably 1992, maybe 93. I was really buying vinyl heavily then, but back then there was no internet, and you'd kind of have to rely on
Street Buzz.
Yeah, you had to rely on the songs coming into England, and then I live in a small city, not in London, so then the actual amount of pre-releases that come into the smaller cities would get smaller and smaller, and it took me ages to get that on vinyl. I searched high and low for that.
Yes, I found out interestingly about my song with Buju Banton. Yes, but it's great fun. I mean, I tell the story now, but that's really the truth behind the story. So, doing all of those stuff in the 90s with Gussie, and started. Then I did my demo, which was Action. What was a demo for me to be signed, because at that time I was like, I'm gonna be signed. I was obsessed with being signed. I was not obsessed with being I guess I thought that in my head that being signed meant that it would have started a career, but my career already was started. But in my head as a young person, because it was the thing to be, Shabba was being signed and all these Jamaican artists are like, I want to be signed. So I did Action, and Dave Kelly and Terrifiable, they laughed me to scorn because I'm singing Action and, you know, being a dancer and being that, you know, I'm a young woman and dancers there. I'm like, Annie's bedroom. But when Terror was doing this part, I was like, Ray. And I was like, I need some action. And behind the mic, you know, my chemistry is flowing. And they are dying with laughter. Remember that? But anyway, it was like, first it was released in Jamaica. It was Nadine Sutherland and Terror Fabulous. It went to the ethnic market. It was Nadine Sutherland and Terror Fabulous. Then Terror was signed to Elektra, and it was Terror Fabulous.
Right, okay.
And then they invited me. Elektra was looking at me to sign me, and then they invited me to do the video, and it was still Terror Fabulous. But all my background in dancing, that time, you know, during the years, I took modern dancing. I took ballet, my dream of being a Alvanelli dancer and dancing. I took African dance. I was dancing then it was not Edaman, it was School of Dance. Okay. I was doing all my dancing. So what I did is that I was the one, all the dancing you see in Action was, and then, you know, dancehall was in, so I knew that I needed a street dance. So I went and got a street dancer. She taught me, this was the street dance at that time, the World of Dance. And then as you see, I got girls from Ashe Dance Group, University Dance Group, and I got girls from, I handpicked all the dancer. Learned the choreography from somebody called Kofi Walker, who was a student at School of Dance at that time and also was dancing with Ashe. So we went through all the choreography with the modern dance step. We invite everybody, and then I got the street dancer who was teaching us all. We had one that we cut it out, but she the dancer girl and Vicky, and she just spring up, and we kind of cut out some of the choreography, and so everything that you saw for Action dance was me. Okay. My background in dance, you know, the spinning and so I would be walking when it was Terror Fabulous. I would be walking in New York, and I was signed then to Elektra, and the videos after a while you start seeing Terror Fabulous and Nadine Sutherland, but all you could see was Terror Fabulous, although they showed me so much in that video. Yeah. They showed me so much. And then I would be walking in New York, and I'm walking and I hear fabulous, and I'm like, and then I would see people running me down and going fabulous. So I got used to, after a while, I guess it was Terror Fabulous, but the guy was Terror in their head. The guy was Terror and the girl was Fabulous. Okay. So I would be walking in New York and hear people screaming out Fabulous, and cannot process it was me because my name was Nadine. So after a while, I kind of got used to it, and I would start acknowledging people, you know. And then Elektra signed me, and it was Terror Fabulous and Nadine Sutherland finally being, yeah. But all the dancing and a lot of you saw with the movements was me showing up, my dancer skills showing up.
And I guess that from signing with Elektra, this is where the collaboration with Snow came about as well. And what a remix, you know, that's one of those classic remixes that even to this day, whenever it gets played, it pulls a crowd.
I can say one thing in terms of, I am very fortunate. I look back and I was like, I could have had songs that just go, like many songs, but my songs have, and one of the things that has sustained me, like the material stood up through the test of time, and like I call them everlasting hits. That even has gone more beyond my expectation. You know, my career could have just ended so, but you know, these songs even kept me alive even when I wasn't even active. You know, that mix that has dancehall legend, man. And I want to give the shout out to the DJs of that time, because when we did that, everything was live. Everybody came and made their lyrics, every intonation, every rhythm. You could give your heart was made up on the spot. If you see me walking, man, just something must be wrong. On spot, everything. It's all about love. It is on spot. So you look at the creativity, the energy, the rigor, the intellectual rigor it took to write those lyrics. and I want to rate them up. I want to rate them up. Hope everybody see this, because just to say the talent of those young men in terms of just writing on spot, it's incredible. I was just there acting cute, going whoa, 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 woo. Yeah, but they were writing lyrics and writing that rhythm like nothing.
I mean, do you think that we've lost some of that element? Because, now we're living in this digital modern world, Pro Tools, you can have two artists on two different sides of the world that can collaborate but not actually physically be in the studio together. Do you feel that we've sometimes lost that killer punch in some of the songs that are coming out now?
It's hard for me to say. I don't like negating the younger generation, because I hear creativity. I hear people writing rhythm. I hear a lot of geniuses coming out. So for me to say that we have lost it, is always, the cream will always rise to the top. And of course, I agree that some foolishness is being made, but foolishness was being made in my generation also. But who you hear that sustain that you cannot fool the public in terms of musical intelligence and what connects. The things that connect, there's always some, not all the time are good music, but majority of the time good music usually connects, that really can resonate towards people no matter what generation.
And amidst doing all the work with Electra Records and things that we've just spoken about, you were also recording for quite a few other producers. So in my mind, people like Bobby Digital. You've got a very strong catalogue of work with Fatis, Exterminator.
Yeah.
Babyface is one of my favourite songs on that rhythm track.
Babyface, and when I did this album with Fatis called Nadine, which I think have some incredible work. Somebody was like, wrote something on the internet. I was like, you must be a Nadine Sutherland fan. But I did some incredible writing. Don't throw pearls before swines. And what they're, it's like climbing the great walls of China to have some peace with you. I thought I did there's a song, a ballad that I wrote with Fatis called Pair of Wings. There's another ballad that I wrote for the Nadine album that was like, Not My Baby. No, which is a true story. Fatis what Fatis did was gave me creative wings. That's just like, go do it, not your thing. And I think that when I'm unfettered, I produce some, that album is there standing. I mean, I was surprised that people, I was like, this album? She was like, yeah. It's like some great music was on that album, Nadine. And I give thanks for Fatis all the time. I give thanks for Fatis. And Bobby too, incredible work. The song that has stood up with Bobby is I'm in love, I can see the rainbow, getting married tomorrow. That has stood the test of time. Ridiculous. Proud.
Now, here in 2020, you've just released I call it a new single, but with a little bit of a twist that I'm going to let you share with the viewers. Right. Aint No Sunshine.
Right. Aint No Sunshine was done when I was signed with Electra, and it's such a profound story. My immigration story is a lot of people's immigration story. The immigrant story, I call it. I think almost everybody in Jamaica, bar the kids. I wasn't really like, my father was there, but my mother went just as on the cups of when I became famous. My mother migrated to America, looking a better life for the family. Okay. And by the time I reached up to the States and recording with Salam's father was there, but they could relate to the idea because almost everybody in that studio had the same kind of experience. So I remember Salam, I don't know, he was like, I don't know how the song came about, but I know Salam was like, let's change it and twist it to the immigrant experience. And we were there talking about, everybody was saying, giving their story as immigrant children. So he was like, Aint No Sunshine would be changed. That's why in the beginning it was like, this song is dedicated to all the children whose parents go foreign for make a better life. Mama, I hope to see you soon. After we did, I've had some incredible moments with men. That's how I always knew from a long time that men were emotional. I always knew. Pair of Wings was the same thing. The emotional quality that it brought out in Dean and anybody that was there when I did that was like the same thing in Aint No Sunshine, because everybody, it was like a moment that these men were just, it was like a catharsis. They were just speaking about their experience, the sadness, and when their mother went, and or when their father, when their auntie went to America, and the chasm in their soul, that sometimes some relationships cannot even be mended. You know, because, you know, in the parent head, they're going for a better life to, you know, to make those sacrifices. But some of those children experience some horrific situations. You know, when you hear some story, somebody tell me, say, the only time them never get beaten by them auntie when their mother go America is the day the mother send the money. When the money come, them don't get, them know say money come. But it's a horrible situation. It can be some horrific tales of sexual exploitation and abuse when, you know, and sometimes, so we were speaking, and years after Salam, I spoke to Salam, and he was telling me that, you know, do it for the culture, and him coming, and I was like, you know, Salam, what is happening in the States and around the world? There's so many refugees and so many situations of immigrants right now, and immigration, and how they're treating these kids at the borders. And, you know, we're speaking about just the world, you know, in Europe and everywhere. And I'm like, you know, Aint No Sunshine would be a great story, because then I realized, like growing up, I realized that Aint No Sunshine, an immigrant story, is not a Caribbean, it's not only for Jamaica, it's a universal story. You know, you could be a European, you might leave to go somewhere in the world. Anywhere, it's a universal story. So I was like, you know, I think we should just like let it out again and see what happens, and see if, you know, people can identify with it and, you know, just embrace it, and we just let it out, and we pray that it will provide some healing and something for the immigrant story that sometimes is not really heard enough. I don't think anybody really has sung anything about immigration and the impact on your spirit and your soul. So I pray that, you know, it can heal some people, yeah, and be closure for some.
True,
yeah.
true. Well, look, Nadine, we really enjoyed our time today, and we thank you so much for sharing so many stories. I think that, you know, the fact that you're here 40 years after you started out here is a credit to your skills and ability as an artist and a dancer as well, because, you know, what you put together on stage shows puts a big smile on people's faces all the time wherever we see you. We really give thanks for your time. Before we go, though, a closing message.
First, I have to plug my song because the producers will kill me. Chatty Chatty, please, on the low. What you call it? Lover's Rhythm. I'm not too sure the rhythm, but Danger Zone. Plug that. Okay, what I want to say. I just want to say that in life, you always have to be positive. Put one step. My favorite thing to speak about is a movie. It's called Finding Nemo. When it's a keep on swimming, keep on swimming, keep on swimming. Just keep swimming. I have seen some days when I am like, I don't know if I was going to sing again. I don't know if I'm going to be on a stage show. I always say to Ryan, who I've worked with, he knows me more than, I think he knows me more than a lot of people in the music industry. We talk a lot. And sometimes, you know, even when I was doing my master's and there was just nothing, it was like, I was like, I wonder if my music career is dead. But I was doing a master's at the University of the West Indies. So I even was thanking God. I was like, God, my music career might dead, but at least I'm doing a master. That means I can go teach, I can go lecture. And, you know, there's alternative source of income when I can go eat a food.
True.
But I kept on swimming. I kept on believing. I kept on moving. You know, and that's the thing I want to leave with people. Finding Nemo, look at the message that it's saying through obstacles, through sharks that wanted to kill him, through not knowing that he was going to get, reunited with the family was going to they just kept on swimming, they kept on moving through everything. There were good moments in that movie that Nemo was still swimming. His father was swimming to find his son. And that's what I just want to say to people, that no matter what life presents, find it in deep, go deep down inside and keep on moving, keep on walking, keep on swimming, because at the end of the day, you don't know what's going to happen 5 years later in your life or whatsoever. Money might be short, keep on moving. Kids might be giving you trouble, keep on moving. Just keep on moving. Never give up. Never give up the fight.
Thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you so very much, and thank you for what you're doing. I've seen some of your interviews. They're really lovely.
Thank you so much.
Big up, big up, big up. I don't want to say it.
Reggae Interviews. Word Sound Power.